Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night from when you're watching this video. This is John from IT Skills Academy with yet another video. Today, I present to you yet another pharmacy management system. I'll take you through how I created this simple pharmacy management system using PHP and MySQLI. To make it simple, I'll break it into several episodes as follows. In the first episode, I'll basically be introducing you to the system and also show you the basic dashboard that we'll be using for the system. In the second episode, we are going to set up the database. Then in the third episode, we'll be creating the dashboard now. And in the fourth episode, we'll be adding the patients. Fifth, we'll be adding or managing the patients rather. In the sixth episode, we'll be adding and managing suppliers. And then in the sixth and in the seventh episode, we'll be dealing with drugs, that is entering or adding the drugs into the system, and also managing the drugs in terms of editing, in terms of deleting the drugs. We'll also be dealing with the expired drugs in the 8th episode, and in the last but not the least episode number 9, we'll be dealing with the billing system, that is where we'll be managing the transactions and what have you. So hope this is interesting, and without so much ado, let's just get started. Well, so the first thing that we need to do is to have those buttons, or the action buttons, that a person will be clicking so that they can be able to edit or delete a record. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to, of course, head back to Visual Studio here, and I'm going to go to the table, and here I'm going to include yet another TD. So I'm going to have 2, or in fact 3. So this one will be update or edit. This one will be maybe view, and this one can be delete. So I'm going to have those TDs with this specific class so that they all match the rest. So hold Alt, select second, that. Yeah, so if we now refresh that, you're able to see now the update, the view, and the delete. So the next thing that I now need to do is to make sure that they are clickable. So I'll have to ensure that each and every one is a link that is taking us to a specific page so that the action can be performed. And so we're going to start with the update. Sorry, this one should be update. And for this update, I'm going to have it within an anchor tag. So I'm going to have an anchor tag, and here I'm going to have the word update. And now for the href, I'm going to say update patient. So these are pages that we have not yet created, but we'll be creating it in a minute. And then we also want this ring, or we want to pass the ID of this specific patient to this page that we'll be calling update patient.php, because we want to be able to update a specific patient at a time. So to be able to do that, we are going to use the unique number, that is the ID. So to be able to do that, after the PHP, I'm going to put a question mark, and then I'm going to say ID is equals to, and remember I had already stored the ID of the patients in this specific variable. So I'll be able to now come and echo it down here. So here I can say PHP, and I'm going now to echo the ID like that. So I'll be able to see the ID of each and every patient if I refresh that. As you can see now from down here, we're able to see that this is patient ID number 3, patient ID number 4, patient ID number 5. So that means we're able to get the ID successfully, and so now we are just going to pass it via the URL or the address to the next page, of course, where we're going to have the form where we are going now to update the patient. So to be able to do that, of course, the next thing that we need to do is to create the update patient .php. So this page, so I'm even going to just click copy it and then go to the pages, and I'm going to have it there. And because it will just be basically a form, and as I said previously, we'll be reusing the forms that we created. So I'm going to go to maybe add patients, and I'm going to grab the code that we have there, and I'm going to paste it in the update patient.php. And so now if I go to this, now I refresh it, then I click on update, then I'm taken to the update patient.php, and in this case with the patient ID number 3. So I'll now be able to echo the patient's records here, that is only this patient ID number 3. So to be able to do that, of course, I need to maybe just change a few things here so that we're not confused here. So let me just see patient. So this one should be update. So I'm going to copy this, I'll replace it like that, and so this one should be form. And that looks fine. So okay, so now something like that. So now the next thing that I need to do is to be able to get this ID, because right now we only have it in a URL, but we want to utilize it in this form so that we are able to get the details of patient ID number 3. So to be able to do that, and because I'm passing the ID via the address or the link, I'm going to come on top here, and I'm going to use the if is set, like the if statement rather. So PHP, and I will say if is set, and the method that I'm using to pass the ID is the get. So the get method is one that will help you to get the ID here, and whatever I want is the ID, so I'm going to have the ID in square brackets. So through this method I'm able to get the ID of a specific patient based on which a patient is selected. So now here I'm able to create a variable maybe called ID, and I can be able to store the ID of that specific patient. So in fact I can maybe just come and say echo ID, and so if we now try to refresh and click update again, you're able to see the ID number 3, and if I maybe choose another patient like this, you see the 4. So it therefore means that we're able to get the patient successfully. And so let me just comment that out. So now what we need to do is to now get the details of the patient, so that now we are able to know which are the current details for the patient, so that way we are also able to update. So now what I'm going to do is just below the form here, I'm going to create a select query that will help me to get the records. So I'm going to create a variable SQL is equals to select all from patients where ID is equals to the ID that we created, of course on top there. And so now down here we are going to have the variable that is going to store the results. So in that case we're going to have the MySQLi underscore query. So we are going to first of all check connect to the database, and then after that now you're going to get the records. And so now if that is successful, that is true, then we are going to count like how many rows do we have in the table patients. So to be able to count that, we said to be MySQLi underscore num a underscore rows and now that we have the number of rows, we want now to say that if the number of rows is or are greater than 0, then we are going to assume that now we have some records, And now using the while loop, we can be able to have those records. So have the while, and I'll say or I'll store the records in a variable called rows. So I'll say that is equals to MySQLI underscore fetch underscore assoc. So now the records from the table will be fetched and they will be stored in this variable called rows. And so now in that I can now be able to have the variables or create some variables from where I'm now going to store these specific records that are in this variable rows. So I'm going to say is equals to rows, and that is ID, and I'm just going to duplicate that severally, so maybe 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, and I'm just going to rename this. Maybe this one will be name. Here we have a date of birth, maybe location, this one is email, and we also having conditions, conditions. Yeah, and I think that's about all. Oh, sorry, allergic. So now we have the records stored in those variables, and therefore means that we can be able to echo. And remember, these records are fetched based on the ID, based on the patient who is selected. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab these three curly brackets because I want them to lap my form here. So I'm going to come down here and open PHP and close it like that, and then I'm going to have my three curly brackets. So it's like I just want the HTML data to be within the PHP that I've created. So to be able to do that, I need to open and close the PHP. Now at the middle there I have the HTML, and then now down here I'm now closing the PHP. So these three curly brackets, remember they are these ones, so 1 2 and 3, so that now I'm able to echo the records here. Yeah, because this HTML is lapped within the PHP. So when it is like that, and that's how we can be able to input or to incorporate HTML within PHP. Now with that, I can be able to come to one of these input field, and maybe I can talk of value is equals to, and I can now have the PHP, and I can be able to, for example, echo the name. And so if I go back to the table, to the browser here, I can click on update, and we are having a problem. We don't have the connection, so let me see. So we said that we require this connection to the database, but we don't have that connection yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come on top here and I'll say require, and I want to require the con.php. So the con.php, so that is the connection to the database which was missing. So let me try to update it again. Sorry. We have the path. So the con.php is that includes. Yeah, let's see. One more time. MySQL. Okay, there's a typo somewhere. Typo MySQLI. Kimwage hii laptop yangu shai tavuruta hiyo masikio. So you can see we are able to get the record here, the John Doe. Let's try with another one, like let's say John here. So we click on update and you see that is John. So now we can be able to have the list of the records. So I'm just going to grab this value and I'm going to have it in the list of the input fields here, like that. So just paste it, and then I'm just going to change the names. So like this one will be email, this one will be DOB, this one will be phone, and here we have location. So if we refresh that, then we are able to get the records except one, the phone, which I think is because we did not pull it out here. So like phone equals rows phone, like that. And so if I now refresh that, I'm able to get the phone number there. Yeah, looks like we have an issue with that phone number. Let me see, maybe the values. Yeah, we had the same phone number. Okay, we'll try and update and see if maybe it's being limited to some characters. Let me just see. Maybe we have less characters here that makes the phone number to be to have less characters. So let me just try to change these, just maybe to make them I don't know how many they are. Maybe let me just say 12. they are good, but yeah, let's just have it like that, just in case person would want to include the the country code or something. Okay, so that's it. We also need to have the allergies and the other conditions and what have you. So I will also need to have the value in this input field here, and same to this one. And that one, let me see. So here I can talk of allergic. Conditions. This one is other conditions. You don't have to include all this. You can have whatever information you require. So the conditions. So that looks fine. Yeah, and we have all of them being none, like that. So as you can see now, we are able to get the records for each and every patient, and so now we can be able to update. So to be able to update now, we need to work on that code. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create now or have the script that will now update the records. So I'm going to require to I'll be required to change this. Maybe I can call it update patients underscore inc.php. It's quite a long name. You can give it any name that you need. So I'm going to grab that, and for this page I'm going to have it under the includes. So I'll go to includes, and here I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name it the update patients underscore inc. So that page is now the one that will contain the script that will help us to now update the records. So that now when a person changes a specific record here and clicks on maybe update, that information is updated on the database. So let's work on that script right now. So go to the Visual Studio here, and so I'm going to have the PHP, and because I don't need any HTML below that, I'm not going to be required to close it. So I'm going to have the if statement. You will notice that we'll be using the if statement a lot. So in this case, what I want to do is I want to test whether the submit button was clicked. So remember, let's just go back here. Remember that this form is the one that we were using previously to add the records into the database, and so it already has the names. So these names, which are very, very important, they are the ones that will grab whatever data that you have in a certain input field, so that we can be able to pass it to another form. and so because we already have that set, I don't need to have it again. And also in our button here, you also notice that it has the name submit, which we require. And so now what we are just doing here is to test whether this button was clicked. And so if it was clicked, we want to be able to go ahead and get the records from that table or from that form. And now we can be able to update the specific database that we are going to choose. So in this case, maybe I can just come and say echo, just to test whether the button was clicked or it is clicked successfully. So maybe I can say I was clicked. So we can now try to refresh and click on the save, and as you can see, it says I was clicked. That means the button is working fine. So let me just go ahead and comment that out for now. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all those records that were collected from the form and store them in variables. So I'm going to grab these here, and I'll replace this with ID. And so I need several of them, so I'm going to duplicate them several times, and so I'm going to now change that. And in fact, whatever we are having here is the same with what we have in the update patient, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, but let's just have it one more time here. So that is name, phone, date of birth, email, conditions, or conditions, conditions toka. Okay, so I'm also going to require the arabic. And so now that we have the records there, we can now create a variable called SQL, and now here we can have the update statement or update. Sorry, but before we have this update, we'll need to have it in quotes, update, and then the table that we are updating is the patients, and we want to set the records as follows. So the first is the name. So the name should be updated with with what is stored in this variable from what we collected from the form. So again, name DOB again is equals to DOB. Sorry, this one should be the variable. this one should be the variable as well. And then we have the phone is equals to phone location is equals variable location, email, so this one will be allergic, and because it is the last one we don't need to have a comma. And then we are not just going to update all of them, we are going to update them where the ID is equals to the ID that we collected on top here. So I'm going to say now where ID is equals to variable ID. So this ID is the one we are referring to, this one, so that now we only update that specific patient and not every other patient who is in that table. So now we are going to test and see if that worked successfully. So I'm going to create a variable called results where I'm going to have the MySQLi query. And so here, as usual, we are going to have the con, and we're also going to have the SQL. So we'll create an if statement to test whether that is true or false. So if less is equals to true, then we are going to redirect the user to the patients.php. So and so here I'm going to have server comma, so location, so we should get out of the includes folder, and then we can now go to the patients.php like so. And if that is true, then the user will be redirected, and that means the table is updated as per the user needs. Else, if the table or something happened and that did not work, then we also want to redirect the user. We're going to redirect the user to the same, but we're going to have an error message. So let me just say location for now, patients.php. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a variable session, a global one. So session, and I'm going to give it a name. I can maybe say updated, can just say updated, and I'm going to set that to be equal to, so this way I'm going to have my message. So I want it to be in a div, so I'm going to create a div, and let me just have it with a class is equals to, I wanted to have a gradient color, so I'm going to say bg, sorry, this one should be, let me have this as single quotes, so bg gray, and sorry, gradient to TL from green 600 to lime 400. So this is just a background color and I just wanted to be to have a gradient color, that is the two colors, the green and the other light green. So maybe this one I can say success, or you can put any message that you need there, and I'm going to duplicate that and I'm going to have it in the L section, that is the else, and I'm just going to change these from green to maybe red, and that one will be filled. Try again, and maybe this one can also be filled. So now that we have a session there, it means that on top here we need to come and start the session. And so now that the session is started there, it therefore means that this session will be created, and we can be able to have this message echoed back in our, let me close some of this, in our patients.php. So let's just get the patients, and here I think we already have a session here, but now this one will be different. So let me just grab this, duplicate it like that. So therefore means that we need to have let me see, this one success. We need to change this because there will be a conflict there. So this one is called updated. Yeah, this one is called failed. Maybe I can say update failed. Update failed. Update failed. Update failed. And then I need to now copy this because it's the one that I'm going to require here. And in fact I can hold the Alt and delete, update that, and then I can also pick this one. Like so. So I hope that will work for us. Let's now test that code and see if it works. So come back here. We can try to update the phone number, for example, and maybe we can say adjective. don't know, foreign. And so I can update, so just save. Okay, so we forgot a few things as usual. What's wrong with me here, because we need to require icon.php. That one is in includes, and something else is the ID on line 5. Yes, because we did not pass the ID. So let me just show you what we're going to do. So I'm going to go back to the update patients, and here I'm going to have a hidden input field that will help me to pass the ID, because as it is right now we are not passing the ID. So I will have the ID there, and then for the type it will be hidden because we don't want to show it, but we need it for the purpose of updating the table. Then what else? Yeah, the location, we did not create a variable for the location. That one should be, yeah, we didn't store it in one of these, but we're having it here. We are calling it here, but it's not stored here. So let me just duplicate one of these, and maybe this one is a location, like so. So now that one should be okay. So let's try again. We need to refresh. And maybe here I can say and save. Oh, sorry, the includes. We are already in includes, so like you can see here, so we don't need to go to that folder, sorry. So we only need to just call it because we're already in includes. So now that should work. Let's try again. Something else that I also forgot to do here is to call this name ID, because this name is the one that is going to pick this ID, so that we can be able to see it here. Yes, so one more time. Update. And this one. And as you can see, success, that means that was inserted successfully. And so now when you look at that, you're going to see the phone number is updated, and when we click on update again, we can see that now this patient is allergic to pollen. So that means the record is updated successfully. So maybe one more time. Yeah, you can see the email is updated and we're having the success. Maybe we can style that success a little bit. My eyes usually likes to see good things, so maybe we can talk of flex, justify center items center, and we can have a py of something like 4 or maybe 3. Yeah, so same case to this one. Yeah, so let's try one more time. We try to update this patient. Yeah, so it's better. Yeah, but now we should also have the text being white. Yeah, so text white, so that's okay. So this and so that looks good, so success. Okay, so maybe just to make this area look a little bit presentable, we can go to the patients here and add a few empty th head. So like maybe we can have 2 more. So just duplicate that and refresh. Yeah, so we have that area looking fine like that. So okay, so the update is working fine. So maybe lastly we can work on the delete, and then later on we'll be working on the view. This one will come later where we'll be working on issuing and selling of drugs to the specific patient. So we're just going to create a script that will help us to delete the records. The delete is a bit simple as compared to the update and the inserting of records, so we can do that real quick. So I can go to the links here, and whatever we did to this, we also going to, whatever we did to the update, we're also going to do it to the delete. So let me just have it like that, and I can grab that and change this. And so now this one instead of update, it will be delete. So this one is going to go direct to the includes, because we don't need another form for the deleting. So I'm just going to go direct to the includes, and I'm going to create that file called delete. And now here I'm going to have the PHP, and we'll be recording some sessions, so I will need to start the session here. And as usual, I just have the if it's set, because we want to check whether the delete button was clicked or not. And in fact, we're going to change that in a minute, but okay, let's first of all work on this. Just realize that we don't need to use this one, the link, because you can see here the method we're using, the method post. So in that case, then it's like we should have a button with the name of submit, whereas in our case we are just having a link, but we're going to get that in a minute. Yeah, in fact, let's just head down there right now, because how I usually have this, I don't know whether that's the best way, but it works for me anyway. So I'm going to have a sort of table here. I mean, not table, but rather a form that will be clicked, so that the record is deleted. So like this is what I mean. So I'm just going to come and talk of form with the method of post, and then the action will be now the includes delete patient.php. The method is post, and then I'm going to have an input. You ask why we need the input. This is to store the ID. So I'm going to have a value is equals to, and here I'm going to echo the specific ID of the specific patient who is selected. So PHP echo ID, and of course to be able to grab that ID and pass it to my to my script, I need to have it with a name ID. So that's where I'm able to have this ID stored here, and I can be able to come and have it here. Okay, so now I will need to have the button, and this now will be the delete, and of course the type will be you guessed it right, submit. And yeah, of course we are going to have it with we can style it a little bit. Let me see if we can talk over text as XS, font semi-bold, yeah, and yeah, Missy BG led 400. Then we can talk of padding of something like 3. Okay, so yeah, that one now should be okay. So let's try and see if that is working. So I can try and say echo was clicked. And so let's see, let's try to refresh. Okay, the BG did not work for us anyway. Let's say delete. Okay, we can't access that file. Okay, let's get to the patients here. Includes delete patient.php. We don't have that. Oh, sorry, we did not include it in the includes. Should be here. So move and delete. So let's try now one more time. Delete was clicked, so that is working. And so if it is working, therefore we can now be able to delete that based on the record. So we are going to require to store the ID because we'll be deleting where the ID is the patient's ID who is or which is selected. So so this one will be ID and now I can create a variable called SQL is equals to, and here I'm going to say delete, and I'm deleting from the patients table, and I'm deleting not all the records but deleting the record where the ID is equals to the variable ID, so that what we stored here and what is being passed here. Okay, so now that that is fine, we want to check the results. So again, create a variable called results, and that will be MySQLi underscore query, and here you guessed it right, con and the variable SQL. And so now we want to check whether that was true. So if the variable is equals true, I will do the redirecting. So I'm going to come and reuse some of this data here because it's the same thing. So I'll just replace this and then just maybe say delete, and yeah, so something like that. So we can have something like that, and maybe I can change and just have this one duplicated, and this one can be renamed to deleted. So this one is hold alt, and finally we have that one, and then Alt and change it. Okay, so that is fine. So now we can try to delete that record and see if that works successfully. So we forgot to have the input hidden because we don't want to show the IDs here, so they are appearing there because of well, let me just show you that. So that is this one, so we need to say hidden. Yeah, so we can try to delete the first patient. So delete. Oh, sorry. As usual, we forgot to require the con.php. So give it the last shot. That was deleted. So, and of course you can see it's not appearing here, so that is working fine. So we are able to see how you can be able to update and delete records using PHP and MySQLi. Hope that was interesting. You're able to run something, and some of these things we are going to repeat them, so in various areas, and so that way you're able even to understand them better. So that's it for the episode number 4.1. See you in the next episode, that is episode number 5.